Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us. I really appreciate you taking your morning to come and hear Kelsie's story. It's going to be a really exciting and interesting one. And I want to say thank you to Kelsie, a great friend of mine who's coming and sharing her story. It's going to be really great, and it's wonderful to have another Linnell come in. We had her cousin Sam give his little history a couple of months back. So if you want to check that out, all of these Seafaring stories are recorded and will be put on the Chatham TV YouTube channel for everyone's viewing later on. So let's give it up to Kelsie.
Thank you everyone for coming. I'm Kelsie Linnell. I grew up in a fishing family and I currently work on a boat. So I'm going to give you a little history about how I grew up and with fishing, and I currently work on the wind farm projects. I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the end. But here we go. All right, so here are the early years. So that's me when I was I think I was about 2 years old. So I basically grew up always at the boat with my dad, watching him unload. My dad's a fisherman, my uncle, my cousins. So I was always in fishing boats with my blankie at the boat. That's me. I was about a week old. Yeah. So my mom said, with a lobster, and I was on the boat. We always had lobsters crawling around. My dad would always bring lobsters home on the boat, and they'd always be crawling around the deck. My sister and I actually used to dress them up in our doll clothes, all the lobsters. That's me driving a boat as a little kid with my dad in the back. Here's some more pictures. So that's me and my sister. My sister Brooke, she doesn't really work on the boats, but she grew up around them and she was always on them very younger. Apparently that's me on my first ever fishing trip. I think I was about 7. So I used to go out with my dad starting when I was 7 in the summer, but we just kind of mess around. I just kind of go for the ride. Remember one time my cousin and I went out with my dad and we just collected starfish all day. And we just had a bucket of them. And at the end of the day, we had a full bucket of starfish and we were begging my dad to let us keep them. He was you can't keep them, and made us drop them off. But I started fishing really started fishing when I was in high school in the summers. I would go out with my dad every so often as a crew guy. These are my dad's 2 boats. So this is the Rachel T and the Lori B. So I started fishing on the Lori B. He doesn't have that boat anymore, but that was the first boat, and then I moved over to the Rachel T. He still has the Rachel T. It's a little bit bigger than the Lori B. He's actually out there right now on the Rachel T. So the Rachel T, we fish for monkfish, skates, dogfish. Right now in the winter, it's mostly monkfish, so he's up there for monkfish right now. The summer, it's gonna be mostly skatefish, dogfish. Some lobsters that get caught in the nets every once in a while. We'll try to sell those or bring them home and dress them up. So here are some dogfish. Just a little video right here. My video's not playing, but so for dog fishing, we set nets out. So there's a picture of my dad and his crew, and that's supposed to be a video. I'm not an expert at PowerPoint, so I'm not sure. Oh, it's not playing, but for dog fishing, we set nets. They're gonna be either we'll set them in the morning right when we go out, and then we'll go skate fishing, and then come back and haul them, or we'll leave them out overnight. But then we have a hauler, the fish come up, and then we have hooks, and we just hook them out of the nets and just throw them on the deck and deal with them later. We sell them just whole like that. We don't have to cut them or anything. They're just like that. We don't really eat them here. They're kind of a gross fish. They're it's a type of sand shark, so they all get sent overseas. I know some places sell them, you'll see them every once in a while on menus, but not, I wouldn't eat them myself.
Not a good sale.
Yeah. And then here's the monkfish and skatefish. So the monkfish are gonna kind of look like, they're pretty gross looking. They have like really big teeth, so you want to be really careful when you're getting them out because they will try to bite you. So you kind of have to like put your fingers in their eyes and rip them out the net that way. And these are skates. It's supposed to be video. And they're gonna kind of look like a stingray. They're really slimy. They do have spikes all over their tails, so that is something that we have to be careful about. All right, and then here's some more. So I fished in high school for a little while with my dad, and then I went off and I moved to San Diego for a little while right after high school because I kind of wanted to try something different. So I lived out there for about 4 years, and then I would come home in the summer and fish for my dad. And that was good just to make a little extra money because I was going to school out in San Diego and just working a lot. And then I decided to move back from San Diego about 5 years ago. And it was like during the summer, and my dad didn't really need any help, and I didn't really know what to do. So, and my cousin Sam had just bought this boat, so I went out with him for one day. And the next day, he called me and he was like, "You're hired for the rest of the summer." I said, "Perfect." So I fished with him, which was really fun. It was just like me, my cousin Sam, my cousin Caleb. So it was just like, and we're all really close. So that was a really fun summer. Like we'd all like make playlists and we'd like jam music all day and just like laugh and talk and make a bunch of food. Always like bring food for each other. So it was really fun. So that's a picture of my cousin Jonas and me. So Jonas would come up every once in a while. He works for my uncle. So I have 3 boy cousins. They're all brothers. So we all fish together. And then there's a picture of me getting on the Mary Alice one morning. So yeah, we go out pretty early. It's like anywhere between like 3 in the morning or like 6 in the morning, depending on the tide. Yeah, it's a big family affair, definitely. I kind of just go with any family member that, cause my uncle has a boat, my cousin, my dad, so whichever family member needs me, I'll go on that boat. Pretty versatile. Here's some codfish we caught one day. So there's my cousin Caleb, and then there's me. Codfish, those are pretty rare to catch, but every once in a while they'll come up in the nets, and we're able to sell them. But there's really not that many codfish around anymore, unfortunately. But so when we do find them, it is a big day, and we take pictures, and it's pretty fun, and we'll keep one and eat it. But yeah, I like those pictures. So yeah, Caleb had a whole photo shoot that day of himself, so I have a bunch of pictures. And there's just some pictures of me on the boat. So there's me, striped bass. Those come up in the nets all the time too. So if we get one of those, we'll either sell it or we'll cut it up and keep it for ourselves and cook it. So I mean, we'll get like all sorts. You get all sorts of things, different things in the nets. Like we've seen sharks, different types of fish. Get those big puffer fish, the robin fish. Yeah, but we usually just throw all those over. Just keep what we want. Every once in a while I'll find a halibut. That's awesome find, but yeah, usually it's just fish. And then there's me with a bunch of nets in the back. So those are the nets that we use for fishing. And then I worked with Sam for a couple summers on the Mary Alice, and then he ended up buying the Great Pumpkin, like a much bigger boat. I went out with him a few times on that boat. I started working for my dad when he bought that boat, but that's an awesome boat, and I'll go for him every once in a while, but he's holding up a pumpkin in that picture.
Oh yeah.
All right, and then so a few years ago, my dad decided that he wanted to do more. So he ended up buying this big steel boat, and this boat's about 75 feet versus our other fishing boats, which are about 35, 40 feet. So this boat is actually the Fleet King. It's a little too big to keep on Cape Cod, so we have it in New Bedford. So he bought this boat because he wanted to go mussling. So we originally bought it as a mussling boat. So this is the deck of it, but over here, we took it off, but there was like a big mussel collar right there. So so he bought that and decided to go on New Bedford and go mussling because he saw that we were getting so many mussels in our nets. And he's like, there's so many mussels out here, there's money to be made in this industry. So he went out and did that. I never did a mussling trip. I heard they were pretty torturous. So you're just dragging for mussels all day, and then I guess there's a lot of shoveling in the bags, and it just did not sound like something I wanted to do. He didn't really have a lot of luck mussling like he thought he would, so he ended up getting a scalloping permit a few years ago, and we had a day trip scalloping permit, which allowed us to get 600 pounds of scallops a day. So I was going out and doing that. So it definitely was a big change from going from like Chatham Harbor to New Bedford, because New Bedford, if anyone's ever been there, it's just so many boats. They're all huge. Everyone is like very dedicated fishermen. It's a little intimidating when I first went there, and I didn't know anyone when I first went to that harbor. So that was definitely a really big change and a little nerve-wracking at first. And also I'd never gone scalloping, so my first scallop trip, I didn't even know how to open a scallop. I didn't know what I was doing. And we had someone, there was a couple guys on the boat that like knew what they were doing, so they were able to teach me. But yeah, those trips were really long and hard, because sometimes you'll catch, there's a, so those are pictures of the boat, and then I'll show you some scalloping stuff. Yeah, so this is the dredge for scalloping. They're huge. It's a huge dredge. So it drags on the bottom of the ocean, and you'll drag for about 20 minutes or so. And then hopefully you catch a lot. Like if you really want basically like up to here to just be full of scallops, but that's usually not the case. And then when you pull up the scallop dredge, you hook it and you flip it over, and then all the scallops dump out. So that's a picture of me like shaking out the scallops from the dredge. So you can see they all like fall on the deck right there. So yeah, it was definitely a very different industry, and then definitely a lot of work, because we would go out and we'd end up being out for like 24 hours, and sometimes if we didn't catch our 600 pounds in a short amount of time, like we'd be awake for like 20 hours trying to catch it until we got it. And I remember I used to be like falling asleep trying to shuck all of them open. So that was definitely a really big change. It definitely was a lot of hard work, because sometimes we would go out and then unload and then go right back out if we had a good weather window, because it was mostly we were doing this in the fall and the winter when the weather isn't great. And you really, if you want to make money, you really have to go a couple times a week to really make it worth it. But yeah, so you shake out all the scallops, and then we have these buckets, and we throw them all in the buckets and then bring them to the shucking station and shuck them. But shucking 600 pounds of scallops it's a lot of work. My hands would just like cramp up all the time.
Like a clam?
Yeah, kind of like a clam from the side. And then this is a picture of us going under the bridge. So we were fishing off of Provincetown. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we got to like go under the bridge, like through the canal, that was a really cool day. Yeah, that's where we'd go up to Provincetown mostly. And here's some more scalloping pics. So yeah, there's like, we go from like sunrise to sunset. There's one of the guys bringing up the scallops. Then you can see all the scallops right there. So like that wouldn't really be that many in a catch. Like we definitely have to do more. And there's me holding a scallop. I always have my nails done, so all the guys on the boat would always make fun of me because I always had like long nails on the boat, but I always thought that picture was cool. So yeah, we were catching pretty big size scallops. Those would be about like U15s, which is about like 15 scallops to a pound. The bigger ones, I feel like the bigger ones are just easier to open, and you don't need as many. They fill up the buckets pretty fast. And then yeah, then this was probably a really good day, because usually you put the scallops in these orange buckets, like the round ones, but we had so many we had to start filling totes up with them. And then we keep all the scallops when we're going to New Bedford in these bins. We keep them nice and cold with ice, and then we bag them all up, and that's how we sell them. And then, yeah, so this would be a really great tow. That's like a a lot of scallops, so we probably only need a few more tows after that, after we got a haul like that, so that was an awesome day. And then this is what they look like when they're all shucked. So they usually put them in this basket, we rinse them off with salt water, and then put them in bags, and we get about 11 to 12 bags a trip, about 50-pound bags. But yeah, that would be a great thing.
Kelsie, how far out are you when you're going for sea scallops?
Not that far, about like 15, 20 miles, kind of. Nothing too crazy. I mean, we could see land a lot of times.
So relatively shallow water.
Yeah, nothing crazy, yeah. And then you don't want, like, we were scalloping in some pretty rocky areas, and that kind of sucked because if you get rocks in the dredge, it like rips apart the dredge, and you have to like go out there and fix it. So we on the boat always had like torches and extra like little like chain links, so we could always repair it. And then so I scalloped for I think a couple years, which was good. It was definitely hard work, but it was really rewarding, and I liked being in New Bedford. Like once I got it down, I felt pretty cool. Like I was like the only girl like in New Bedford, which was I didn't see anyone else, and like I was working with some pretty like hardcore like New Bedford guys. So at first it was intimidating, and now like we keep the boats up there. That's why I usually go out of now. But I like it up there. It's nice.
How many openers did you have on the boat?
It was me and about 3 other guys. So my dad and 2 other crew guys. So I mean, it would take a while, but depends on how fast. I mean, I got pretty fast there at the end. Definitely my first few trips, it was pretty tedious, so I couldn't really figure it out. But then once I got it down, it wasn't bad. So we scalloped for a couple of years, and it was great. The boat was making money. We were making money. Unfortunately, this couple years ago, this year, the scallops are kind of dying off. So, problem with scallops is you'll have like really, really good years for 10 years, and then it'll just like completely drop off, and you'll just have terrible years. So, right now they're catching some, but they're not doing like what they did a few years ago. So it's just kind of a hard industry right now, and it's just long and tedious, and you're constantly towing and towing and towing. So we actually got recruited. Someone from the wind farm company came to the boat a couple years ago and saw my dad like just working on the boat, and asked him if he was interested in being involved in the wind farm. And at first my dad was kind of like, didn't really know what to say. Not a lot of fishermen are really for the wind farm, but he was like, well, they're coming anyway, so I might as well get involved and try to protect the fishermen as best as I can if I'm involved. So he ended up selling the scalloping permit, and we took all the scalloping gear off. And then a couple years ago, we started with the wind farm. So here's some pictures of the boats that are out there. I'm not sure if these ones are out there now, but these were the ones that were out there this fall. So we started off doing the wind farm stuff a couple years ago in the fall. Like we stopped scalloping. We scalloped all summer, stopped scalloping, and got involved with the wind farm. So we would be out there so when I go out on the wind farm, it's about 10 days at a time, 8 to 10 days at a time, and we don't come in at all. So we're out there the whole time, unless the weather's like really bad, and we'll send us in. So to get involved with the wind farm, my dad told me I should get my captain's license because there needs to be a captain's license on the boat at all times. So I went to New England Maritime in Hyannis right at the end of COVID, so everything was like still online. And I ended up getting my captain's license, which took about 3 months of schooling, and then I had to study a lot and take about 5 tests. And I passed all those, so now I have my 100-ton captain's license, which is pretty cool. I don't know a lot of other women that have that, and it was pretty hard to get. It was definitely a lot of studying. It was way harder than I thought it was going to be. So I got that, and then we started wind farming right after I was able to get that, and my dad got one too, so we could kind of like switch off, so I'm not going on every single trip. That's just a lot. So we got involved with that. We got recruited by a company called Sea Services, and Sea Services basically recruits fishermen from pretty much New Bedford, because they want like a good sized boat that you can be out there for multiple days at a time. So all these smaller boats in Chatham wouldn't be good for the wind farm for what we're doing, just because it's not sustainable to stay out for a long time. The Fleet King, I mean, there's like a shower, like a bathroom, a full kitchen. I have my own little captain's room, which is about like this big, but it's still alright. It's definitely really tight, but it's not terrible. So we got involved with them. So Sea Services was able to connect us with Vineyard Wind, because there's about 5 different wind farm companies that are going in to like this one area, and I'll show you a picture of the area. So it's mainly south of Martha's Vineyard. Yes.
Would you explain what a wind farm is?
Yes, I will. So this is what the wind turbines look like. There's about 13 on the project I was just working for in the water right now. I started off working for Vineyard Wind as like a scouting vessel, because at first they wanted like fishing boats out there to scout and look for fishing gear, and so like these big boats that are surveying the ocean aren't gonna run over the fishing gear and hurt the fishermen's catch. So we would go out there for 10 days, scout the area. They'd like give us like lines and plot points to scout, and then we would take that data and they would be plot it into our computer, like each pinpoint, and send it off to the fishermen. And since we were fishermen, it was pretty easy for us to identify like what kind of gear it was, whose gear it was. So we were able to call them and be like, hey, this is what the wind farm is here right now. Like, your gear is safe. I just want to let you know what's going on, which was helpful because I feel like we were a good like liaison for that. So these are what they look like. There's about, so in Vineyard Wind, I'm not sure how many they have up right now. I think they have about 12 up in an area. These are the boats that, so we were working for Vineyard Wind, and then last year I was working for Orsted, which is a company out of England. They are building a big wind farm, so we were actually, all last year I was basically, we had a different job. We were guard vessels, so there's a cable route, so the cable connects to the wind turbines, and there's a big power substation out there too. So each wind turbine is connected to a cable underground, and all that power goes to the substation, and then it connects to another cable that brings it all the way back to land. So there is a substation, or there's a power station in Hyannis, like Barnstable, kind of by BJ's, like where the old Cape Cod paper used to be. There's a big energy station right there, so that's where all the energy from the wind farm is stored. I got a tour of that one day. It was actually pretty cool to like watch how like all the energy gets stored in these like giant buildings. So we were working for Orsted on the cable route. So the cable route, they had exposed cable. So they had us in like an area, just like patrolling the area and like calling up boats and telling them the boats, just like if we saw a boat in the area, I would just say, hey, you can't, just letting you know, we can't tell you not to fish in this area, but there is exposed cable, so your gear could get messed up, or you could mess up the cable, which then you would be liable for because we warned you about it. So that's what basically I did for like all year while I was just like on the cable line, like off of Montauk, because there's a substation going into New York. So I would say stay off Montauk for 10 days at a time. Then we'd go back in New Bedford, be in for 36 hours, then go right back out. So these are some of the boats that are installing the wind farms in right now. So like that, they have a big crane. It's actually pretty cool to watch. because these giant pieces, like they made these boats specifically for the wind farm. So this boat was about 800 feet, and then you have a little tugboat next to it, just like keeping it stable. They kind of just drill those into the ground, and then I'm not sure. They are pretty deep. They are the largest ones that have ever been built. These ones that are in right now. All the parts are kept in New Bedford for most of the companies. They have like a big dock that they've rented to keep all them in. And then these boats those are like the pieces, and they gotta get built piece by piece. They do go up pretty fast. They have a pretty good system for it. Yeah, we were just kind of working with these boats, and we'd like call them on the radio back and forth if they needed anything from us. But yeah, this is what they look like. So this is right now. That's what it looks like off of Martha's Vineyard. So and then that's another one getting built. So the crane. So yeah, 3 blades. They're pretty far off land. It's about 20 to 30 miles off land.
How high are they? You know?
I'm not sure. They're definitely a few hundred feet high. You can't see them from land at all, but they are. So then this is where it is. So this is Vineyard Wind's project right here. Revolution Wind, the South Fork Wind Farm. I was basically right here all last winter. I was right there. Down here the year before, and then I can show you. So this is a picture of where the cable goes. So that's Vineyard Wind site, and then they have a cable that goes all the way through there, and then that's where the power station is.
I'm so concerned about the fishing and what families doing to the fishing.
As of right now, it hasn't really affected the fishing. They're like when we were doing the cable routes, the lobstermen were putting their lobster traps all over near the cable route because the lobsters like the cable and like going under the rocks and everything right there. So they really liked it. I mean, we were calling them all the time, warning them about the cable. I've seen a lot of videos. There is divers that go down there, and there's a lot of activity by the wind farm. And each wind turbine was built a mile apart from each other, so the fishermen are still able to set gear right there. That was a big thing that they pushed for, which is nice because everything you can still like get around and maneuver around through them. And so far there is a lot of fish activity, and I haven't heard anything negative about how it's affecting the fish. I mean, it's still pretty new, and I think we don't have enough data on it yet. But as of right now, I mean, the videos that I've seen of the divers that went through, there is a lot of activity down there. And we see marine life all the time. That's pretty much. Oh, and then this is my boat, the Fleet Queen. So a couple years ago, when we were getting into this wind farm project, my dad was like, there is this boat that I think we should go in on together that doesn't have any fishing permits. So I ended up buying this boat with him. It's 80 feet, so that's the King and that's the Queen next to each other. That's New Bedford. That hasn't gone on any wind farm trips yet. We did a lot of work on it. Took off all the fishing gear, had to like repaint it because it was sitting at the dock for a long time.
I wondered how it happened to be red.
Yeah. Yeah, it was called the Green Acres, and it was like this ugly green color, and my dad said he could name it whatever I wanted, so I thought it'd be cool to name it so we had the King and the Queen, and they were both red together. So this one's a little bit wider and about 5 feet longer, so hopefully this coming season it will start going out again, which would be pretty exciting.
Kelsie, do you guys sell the fishing gear that you take off the boats?
No, we have a lot of it. So my dad still is fishing right now. So he's fishing on the Rachel T right now out of Chatham. So I'll start doing that a little until the wind farming gets moving again. I mean, I do enjoy fishing a little better just because I don't enjoy being out there for 10 days at a time without cell phone service and in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, we kept all the gear, like all the gear. My dad has a shop, so it's all there. Because you never really know what's gonna happen. I mean, we are with the wind farm project right now, but I mean, things can always change. And once they're done with the wind farms, they're not really gonna need us, so we'll go back to fishing. And I mean, the scalloping might come back in the next few years, like it always does, kind of up and down. So the wind farm is kind of just a way to supplement the fishing, because the problem is fishing in the winter and the prices are always changing and the weather's always changing. So we got into the wind farming just to supplement and kind of balance out what we're losing when we're not fishing. So the fishing boat in Chatham is still going out. The Fleet Queen and the King will hopefully both go out and do the wind farming for another year this year, and then we'll see what happens. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. I'll take any questions if anyone has any. Yes. Oh, you can go, Steve.
I was just curious, when you're out on the lines, do you get to fish out there, or do you have to just go trolling the lines for the companies that you work for?
We're not supposed to be fishing out there. I mean, sometimes we'll bring like fishing poles and just like kind of like throw some casts in when we're just bored and sitting around. I mean, there's so many sport fishermen that are around us that are getting striped bass and stuff, and we were just on the cable line all summer. But yeah, we're not really allowed to fish. We're not supposed to have like any gear on the boat, technically. Yes.
Do you have to sign a contract to stay with this?
Yeah.
To say like 2 years or 3 years?
We sign a new one pretty much every season, so it's kind of hard to like really do this in the winter. So basically like January through about now, it's kind of like the lull of the season, so we'll go on like a couple trips here and there. But we pretty much sign a contract with each new company that we work for. So we started off Vineyard Wind, now we're with Orsted. I think this summer we're gonna be with the Revolution Wind, which is like just a branch of Orsted. But yeah, definitely have some big contracts that we need to sign. Yeah.
So I have two classically girly questions.
Okay.
The very first one is, you were talking about the monkfish and how sharp the teeth are,
Yeah.
and that the way to deal with them is to put your fingers in their eyes.
Yeah.
And so on. So when you were first told you have to do that, did you go, ooh?
Yeah, I hated it at first. Like even with skate fishing, because we have to cut their wings off when we do it. It was hard It was hard at first, like just like cut through them and stuff. Now I'm used to it, so I don't even think twice about it. But
Sure.
definitely at first it was a big shock, and I didn't know if I could do it. And the smell is so bad.
I mean, you have traveled so far in the direction that most women don't travel in. And, you know, you have so much to be proud of. And I'm sure your dad is enormous.
Yeah.
My second question has to do with, you have very fair skin.
Yeah.
You're in a really tough environment to take care of it, and yet you obviously have. So what do you do?
Lost sunscreen. I am a big sunscreen person. Like, I'm constantly putting it on all day long.
But
I like have to. Yeah, I mean, my dad was really big. My dad has like the same fair skin, so he's always doing the same thing. Like, I get so jealous because my 3 boy cousins, they just have like the most perfect tan skin and like never get burnt, and they'll just get this like amazing tan, and I'm just like pale white still and like constantly putting sunscreen on. Yeah, it's definitely a tough industry. It has had its challenges just being a woman, but I'm really proud of it, and I love working for my family. And that's definitely really hard to work for my family at times because we don't always get along. But at the end of the day, like, we love each other, and we're all so proud of each other, which makes me feel really good. It makes me want to keep doing what I'm doing, which is awesome. Yes.
What about these monitors that the government has made, that the fishermen have to have on their boat and pay them.
Yeah, that definitely is really tough for us. It definitely was a big shock when that started coming. Again, the cost of fishing has just gone like, it's just so expensive. Like I was with my dad yesterday because he went out to go on his boat today. And he was complaining of the prices of even this like totes and rope and like knives just like doubled in the last couple of years. And he's like, that's one of the other reasons we got into the wind farming thing, just to kind of, because it doesn't really cost us anything to do that, and it kind of just like balances out the fishing where we're losing money. But yeah, the price of fishing and even like the is crazy. Just like the gear and then like paying for the observers to get on the boat, paying to be in the sector, paying to just go out and fish, and paying for your permits it's gotten really tough. Since my family's been fishing for their whole lives, so it's definitely tough.
Each boat has to have one of those monitors.
Yeah, so they're not on every single trip, but they do have to have multiple trips a summer. I'm not sure really how they decide how many days they need this observer to be on the boat, but
Kelsie, why didn't they do that?
it's just to monitor like overfishing, and just so they can take data on the fish that we're catching and how many fish are out there. So they're saying it's to help. I don't really know if it's really helping, but yeah, they're basically just like to monitor and make sure no one's overfishing, because our limits are really restricted too. And if you get caught overfishing or like coming over your limit, you get a huge fine.
Might have the political officer on board the Red October.
Yeah.
You know, they were there to make sure what you were doing was what they wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's definitely tough. And then the limits that they have, like the limit, dogfish limit's going up, but the skate limit, I mean, we've just seen it go up and down too. And then now they're like, I mean, they just don't want what happened to the codfish, because there were so many codfish and there was no limit, and then all of a sudden people just over caught them, and now we don't have any more codfish here really anymore. So, I don't know, it has its pros and cons. I mean, I see more cons than pros, but that's just me.
You were talking about the added expense that you have now that you didn't have years ago. I mean, even fuel must be insane.
Yeah, fuel is definitely insane. So when we're in New Bedford, the fuel is cheaper up there, so that's like one of the pros of being there. So my dad this winter was actually, after this trip, was going to move his fishing boat to New Bedford, just because one of the reasons the fuel is like way cheaper there, because the fuel in Chatham is just insane. But yeah, that's definitely a big part of the fuel. Is huge.
Especially if you're staying out for that long and going that far.
So the wind farm company, they pay for all our fuel, which is like a big plus. So it really doesn't cost. So that's why I kind of do it. It doesn't really cost us anything. It's pretty easy for the most part. Low stress, so it's just kind of an easy thing to kind of jump back and forth from. So yeah, so that's.
Question about, I know there's controversy with the wind farms and the whale population.
Yeah.
In terms of whales beaching themselves because of the sonic sounds that are happening
Yeah.
around the base of these wind farms. And there's a real controversy around conservationists pushing for wind versus conservationists that are concerned about whales. So do you hear anything when you're out on the boat?
Oh yeah. I hear a lot. I mean, boats will just like call us. I mean, I feel like a lot of people don't have like the right data, and they're saying things that they're just hearing. But we get yelled at all the time. Like I'll get screamed at on the radio all the time by fishermen driving by, which is we just have to just ignore it. I mean, before we go out there, we go through like extensive training for marine whales and like marine animals and whales. So every year I have to like renew my training. So if we see a whale out there, like the whole project stops until the whale safely passes by, no matter what the whale is. So they are doing their part. I don't think there's enough data to support the whole sonic boom, like of why the whales are beaching themselves. I will say there's a lot of litter and stuff like when we see in the ocean, there's so many balloons out there and stuff like that we are constantly taking out of the ocean, which I could see that as being a big problem too. Because it's shocking the amount of trash that we will take out of the ocean when we're on these wind farms. They have wind farms all in England, like out offshore. They're not having any whale problems, and their data for fishing life is pretty good. But I just don't think there's enough data yet for what we can like really see what effects it's gonna take. But yeah, it's definitely a controversy that I hear about a lot. So I just kind of have to ignore the noise and just kind of keep doing what I'm doing.
Thank you for taking the trash out.
Yeah, that's a big part of what we do too. We have to like we have like gaffs on the boat so we can pull out balloons and stuff. We were off in New Jersey a couple years ago when we first started this, and there was so much trash there. Like we were off Atlantic City. Yeah, just like balloons and stuff. Yeah, just like floating, which was pretty crazy. Yes.
Could I ask you a question about your licensing?
Yeah.
Because I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
For your captain. So you did a lot of online bookwork and training and testing. Was there any practical? Did you have to go out with anybody or?
No, they don't do any of that, which I think is pretty interesting. I think they should, because you can get your captain's license and study, but you still don't really know how to like drive the boat. You do need to have a certain hour of sea time out in the ocean. It's like definitely a couple hundred days or so, like you need for the sea time, and you need to have like a captain sign off on it for you. But no, basically the captain's license is a lot of learning like environmental stuff, like weather, like call signs and like different lights and what each lights mean when you're out there. Yeah, basically like rules of like of the water. Yeah, I went. So I think it was 3 days a week. I went to like school online. It was like 3 hours of a teacher like talking to us, and then we took like practice tests and stuff. Had to like learn how to like chart, because like nowadays everything's electronic. Like we have we actually had to like learn how to chart a course like on a map, which I found really hard because I'm just used to plugging into a computer and it just tells me like, there you go, that way. So that was definitely the hardest part for me. Yeah, it was hard to like get the ruler, and like that was a lot. I had a hard time with that. But now I know how to do it, so if electronics ever went out on the boat, I would be able to get a map out. I could probably chart the course back.
Kelsie, could you talk about what the 10 days on your boat looks like for you and your crew?
Yeah, so we take shifts, so we usually do like 2 hour, usually 4 people on the boat, so it's like me and 3 other guys. We do shifts, so it's like every 6 hours. It's 2 of us every 6 hours, and we switch off. There always has to be 2 people on at all times. One person is basically just like looking for marine life, and the other person is like driving and like calling on the radio and stuff like that, and also looking out for marine life. I mean, when you're 6 hours, when you're off those 6 hours, you can really do anything you want. You're kind of restricted. We only have pretty limited cell phone service. We have some Wi-Fi on the boat, but we're not like really allowed to like go on it to like use it for fun. I read a lot of books when I'm on the boat. Definitely, if it's nice out, I'll sit out on the deck and I'll read my book. Definitely watch a lot of movies. We have a TV. We have video games. Yeah, usually we have this one guy who usually we'll switch off cooking dinner. But yeah, definitely we have to have 10 days worth of food on the boat for like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and like snacks. So that's a lot. We try to like get as much stuff as we can, like a lot of like frozen vegetables and stuff. I mean, I try to eat as best I can on the boat. And like all this, like sometimes I'll just walk laps from the deck even if the deck's so small. I mean, it can be a very boring job at times. We also have to do drills every day, so we're required to do like 1 drill a day. It would be a fire drill, like a man overboard drill, oil spill, drill, like anything like that. And everything has to be logged and recorded. So we have a laptop that we are constantly just like logging into every day and giving a daily report of like what we did, and what drills we did, and like what we saw out there. So they have all the data.
So in other words, a lot of documentation.
A lot of paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork. I feel like I'm just constantly on. It's like the guys I go out with are just like these guys, like older guys from New Bedford, so they're not really as techie as me. So I feel like I'm always doing all the paperwork, which is fine. Like I don't really mind doing it. But.
How did you hire them? What was their attitude towards working for a female? Did they already know you, so it wasn't an issue, or what?
We've just like always known them from New Bedford. The guys that work for us, some of the guys I used to scallop with, and then when we weren't scalloping, they just did the wind farm thing too. But everyone on the boat has to get this other certification. It's STCW, and it's basically just like a big safety certification. So we had to go to Connecticut to the school and do like fire training, like real life drills, like jumping into pools, putting on survival suits. They're definitely, the wind farm's really big on safety and making sure like they don't want any problems. The guys that I work with, I mean, they're cool guys. They just kind of like keep themselves. They're pretty hardcore. They came from a big fishing family, and they're all like brothers and cousins, and they don't really mind it because it's a good job. Like if you fished your whole life and now you're a little older and like you don't really want to do the hard work. And they know what they're doing. But no, everyone that works for me is pretty, they're cool about me being the captain and everything. Everyone's really nice and respectful so far. Usually we only really hire guys that have gone out on the boat before. And then like my cousin Jonas, he was doing it for a little while. My uncle Timmy was doing it. My dad will go out there too. So a lot of family stuff. My boyfriend was out there for a little while doing it. So. We usually keep it a lot in the family. And we have another family that works for us, so it's pretty good.
Question about mentorship. I mean, since I'm guessing you're the only female captain I know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is or isn't on the Cape of their trade program, if there's a trade school on the Cape, close to the Cape, but has any of them ever asked you to come in and do any mentorship for girls that might be interested in this?
No, but that's a really good idea. Like at the tech school or something. I mean, I know the Fishermen's Alliance and the Fishermen's Partnership, they have a program where you can like learn how to be a fisherman, but I mean I could probably talk to them about, I don't think they have a lot of women that come to this program and like to learn how to fish and like learn how to cut fish and learn how to like flake nets and stuff, so that would be a good idea.
It'd be cool if somebody who didn't come from a fishing family might be
interested. Yeah, there definitely should be
somebody to look at and be inspired by.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely a job that anyone can do, I think, if you have the right mindset and definitely. I think it's for everyone. I mean, everyone thinks it's like kind of like a guy job, but I mean, I think you can really do anything if you really put your mind to it. You're mentally tough enough to do it. I mean, I think I'm mentally more tough than some of the guys that I go out with. So.
I think that's all it is, attitude.
Yeah.
The attitude you want to do it, you do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you gotta be commended to go through what you actually gone through to get to where you are. I mean, you turn around, you ask a girl that you want to go fishing.
Yeah.
You want to go down Bridge Street and fish off the
off
the bridge, or do you want to fish off Hardy's Beach there? I sat down there one time, and I was watching the girl, probably 15 years old, talking with her father. She throws the line out. She catches a sand shark. She's pulling it in, and first thing she yells out, "Dad, Jaws!"
Yeah.
Everybody's looking around like they're gonna expect to see a great white. And she didn't want nothing to do with it. I mean, she thought it was cool to go fishing, but when she actually caught something, it panicked her. But I mean, to go do that, and you sucked it up and did doing what you needed to do to make yourself successful.
Yeah, it definitely took a lot of hard work. Now I'm in a pretty good position right now, which is it's nice. I feel like I really like, at first I really feel like I didn't know what I was doing, and now I feel like I pretty much have it down and I know what I'm doing, and I'm a lot more confident when I go out there. But yeah, it's been good, yeah.
Did you ever aspire to do anything else when you were younger? Did you think, oh, I'll be a nurse or?
Yeah, I wanted to, this is not what I thought I'd be doing. I was definitely really girly growing up. Like, I loved singing and acting and stuff like that. I thought I was gonna get into that. I went to San Diego. I went to community college out there for accounting. So I thought I was gonna do that and get into business. And then I came back here, and then I just kind of started fishing, and I just kind of found like a love for it, and I just had a love for working for my family, and now I just keep building up the steps, and I just keep going with it.
And that accounting will do you well as a captain also.
Yeah.
Keep that boat profitable.
Yeah, definitely. Helps me out when I'm doing my own taxes, so. This is something.
How do you stay warm up on the boat? You get enough heat from the engine?
So these boats have heat inside of them, but when we're out there fishing in the winter, it's freezing. We just have a lot of layers on, a lot of hand warmers, feet warmers. Yeah, it gets cold. But I mean, once you start moving, it's really not terrible, but I wear a lot of layers. Like, I'll go to Job Lot every winter and just buy as many warm clothes and layers as I possibly can.
You have sleeping quarters?
Yep. So these boats have their own little captain's rooms, and then there's bunks down in the front over here. In the smaller fishing boats, it's just going to be like 4 or 5 bunks in the bottom. But you're not really sleeping that much because you're really just going out for day trips on those. These are nice. Like, I have my own little room on each of these boats. It's nice. I mean, it's about like this big, but it's still nice having my own little space. Yeah.
Does it like really dry out when you're there for 10 days? Do you ever, come the 6th day, do you feel like you're constantly wet and wet?
Yeah, I mean, it's you don't feel great. I mean, there's showers on these boats, so I shower and stuff. Yeah, I get home and I'm like, oh, like my own shower and my own bed and like warm, nice clothes I get pretty excited about. It's definitely a hard adjustment. Like, when I first go out, like the first couple trips of the season, it's a big adjustment to be out there for 10 days, and then I have a hard time adjusting when I come home because my sleep schedule's all messed up on the boat, because I'm just like up at weird times, and then sometimes I have a hard time falling asleep because these boats are so loud. I can just like hear the hum of the engine, and then when I get home, it's all so quiet and my ears are just like ringing. Like, I miss like the white noise. That's definitely hard. Yeah. Yeah, this job it's easier than fishing, but it's definitely more mental to stay out there, I would say. And it's hard, like, when I can see like all my friends like out doing fun stuff, and then I'm on the boat stuck out there. So that's definitely hard in the summer, but it's been worth it so far.
Are you in your 20s, 30s?
I'm 26.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Very
How
impressive.
old were you when you got your license?
23, 24.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I got a couple years ago. I think I started taking the class when I was 23, and then I passed the test when I was 24. Yeah. Yeah, I think I was definitely like one of the younger people in the class. I was definitely the only girl in the class.
You were the only girl on the class?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them about being on the boat and hoping that the good cook is on your boat?
Oh yeah, we have a really good cook that comes on the wind farming boat, so I'm always like asking for him to come back because he just cooks these most amazing meals. And he's a way better cook than me. Like, I try not to really cook. But yeah, there's a guy that he just makes these amazing meals on the boat, and every night I'm like excited to see what he makes.
It makes a difference.
It does make, that's like the one thing I like really look forward to. Yeah, you gotta like have like little things when you're out there for that many days.
I've had 2 girls go to sea for different reasons, and the mess was everything.
Yeah.
Because there can be so much, tedium
Yeah.
and, you know, like I said, different reasons they were out.
Yeah.
Having a great cook in the mess makes it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I try to keep everything like really clean and organized too. So I feel like there's like it's so small that I just want like I'm really big on that. So I'll get after the guys all the time about like cleaning stuff up. I just like everything I just like to be like clean and nice as nice as it can be. Which I feel like good because I keep everything very very organized. Which you kind of need to because all the paperwork that we have to do. I mean, then we'll get we get boarded all the time, like a couple times a year too, by Coast Guard and stuff like that on both boats. So I like to keep all of our documents like in a binder, so when they get on the boat, I can just be like, here you go. So I know I've been on boats before where people are scrambling to find their documents, then you got to stop what you're doing. It's, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for coming.